And we are live. Hello and welcome back to the History of Comics. And today we're going to go to 1991 to talk about one of my favorite Italian comic book series. And it became my favorite even though I've I had only read for a long while one short story that was published in a Brazilian anthology. The, the feature is called Nathan Never. It's published regularly in Italy by Sergio Bonelli Editore. Bonelli is the largest homegrown publisher of comic books in Italy. Their most successful series since the 1940s, I believe, is Tex. Um, and in order to help me, I'm going to have the Italian Wikipedia open because I am not as familiar with the subject of Bonelli comics as I am with Marvel and DC. The purpose of this is because a couple of like, not a couple of last week I was in our monthly dinner party that a bunch of comics fans in Portugal have every month, uh, and and I took the time to meet up with a friend who was also at the dinner, and he managed to get me the first 8 editions of the Nathan Never comic, the Brazilian editions. After which the comic was canceled due to low sales. Just as it was getting good, it took up till issue number 5 or 6 for them to get the hang of it. But right now, the comic is very famous in Italy, even though they had a hard time getting a foothold in other markets, like, for example, Tex or Dylan Dog. Nathan Never is going in issue number 330, I believe. Now, before I show the Italian comics, in our dinner party, we raffle out some prizes. It's usually some old comics that we don't want, so we don't usually get some good prizes. Although this time we got something interesting. Um, I don't know. I have no idea how this got to Portugal, but it is the Sunday Comics page from the Staten Island Sunday Sunday edition, and it's got, as you can see, Garfield and Peanuts. This is from January 2nd, 2000. So it's right after the New Year's Day. Garfield, Peanuts. Here's Doonesbury. It's all the major comic strips that they had at the time. For better or for worse, Andy Cap, I Am Lois, and Mama. I don't think this is appearing. Yeah, sorry about that. It's a very large page. Also, Foxtrot, Miss Peach, Speed Bump, Doonesbury, and my favorite, the last page, the more realistic strips, The Phantom, Mary Worth, and Steve Roper, which I didn't know was still going on. So interesting prize that I won. But onto the good stuff now. So my friend managed to get me a bunch of Nathan Never comics for €1 each, which is pretty cheap. And the first the 8 issues that were published by Editora Globo in Brazil. I'm not really sure if they were distributed in Portugal at the time. But here it is. This is Nathan Never #1 with a cover by Claudio Castellini. Castellini is right now. I'm not sure if he's still remembered in the USA. He was the artist on Marvel versus DC. So that should be his most famous job. Nathan Never is a science fiction title that's set in an unspecified future. There's space travel and cyborgs, and the majority of the stories, they pay homage to several classics in both in movies and in literature. in the genre of science fiction. Nathan Never himself is modeled after Rick Deckard from Blade Runner. Castellini drew this first issue. Nathan Never is an agent for an interplanetary governmental agency called Alpha Agency, in Italian, Agenzia Alpha. The stories are in black and white, so let me see if I can show you. Okay. Is the original page. This first story was written by Antonio Serra, art by Castellini. And let me see if I can show up the main character in action around here. Where are you, Nathan Never? And okay, here it is. This is Nathan Never. Since Castellini has a style that is appropriate for the American market, this kind of looks like a superhero comic, although it's mostly because it's set in the future and they have this type of clothes that we thought that people wear in the future, tight-fitting clothes. Italian comics are published by Bonelli are usually 100 pages, black and white, monthly. But they change they change artists every time because, of course, even at this smaller size, they can publish 100. They can nobody can do 100 pages a week per month. Issue number 2 still has a Castellini cover. Looks like a Jim Starlin cover in here. Started the dark monolith, so it's paying homage to 2001: Space Odyssey. Different artists here on the inside. So Bonazzi. Bonazzi is not usually known as one of the top Nathan Never artists. Roberto De Angelis is usually considered the best one. I think that it's what was his name? Stefano Casini. I think that is the one who's made more stories. Okay, so let's see now. Yeah, so it's this one has a different style. Kind of looks more European than Castellini. This would have fit right in at either heavy metal magazine, but even in the United States, this could have been published in Epic Illustrated or one of the Warren magazines. Here's Nathan Never in action. So not as dynamic as Castellini. I'm going to see if I can find a picture of his partner, Legs Weaver. Okay, she's here. Okay, so Legs Weaver starts as Nathan Never's partner on the field, but she will be one of the she will get in the future her own series. The first spin-off, Nathan Never, has several spin-offs, including one for all the agency called Agenzia Alpha, and there's another one called Universo Alpha. But Legs Weaver was the only other character from the Nathan Never strip that had her own comic. Issue number 3 over here, more of a kung fu theme. Okay, this one is by Stefano Cassini. So you should be able to see the line work more clearly. This one has even more of a heavy metal feel than the other one. It's a shame that most of these comics are in black and white, but because that they're actually quite cheap, I think they're about €3.50 in Italy right now, so that'll be $4, but you get 100 pages and usually a complete story. Comics in Italy are usually they either have one complete story or they're a two-part story. Nathan Never is actually different from the other ones because you have some ongoing storylines that go on for 6 or 8 issues. So can you imagine a storyline that takes 600 to 800 pages to tell? Okay, so we have visitors, and Terrence is in the house. Hi, Terrence, and Samuel Trejo as well. Hi, Samuel. How's it going? Okay, issue number 4. Yeah, this is number 4. The Island of Death. Still have Castellini covers. In fact, in this one you can see the Castellini signing. Let me show. Okay, so here's the signature. I hope you can see this. The signature is hidden here in the wave. The story is by. It's usually not in the first page. They don't put credits like in American comics, so sometimes they're signed in the page 20 or something, and I can't tell who did this one. Okay, it's Cassini as well. This one's a bit different, a bit darker. It's continuing a bit of the previous issue's theme. Issue number 5, Invisible Force. These are all from the Brazilian series. A little bit more on the realistic side. Can you see that? Yeah. Yes, Samuel. I read Italian with some effort. In fact, these are from the Brazilian editions, but I'm going to show the Italian versions that I have. So let me just get rid of this once for now. This is issue number 6, which is usually regarded as the first one that's any good. A little bit on the inside art. So I still have to read this. I haven't had time to bought them from my friend just last week. Number 7 has a great cover. Forbidden Zone. Always with the references to science fiction novels and movies. Okay, so here's the main character appearing. And round out the last one from the Brazilian series that was published in the early 90s, The Shadow Man, issue number 8. 7 and 8 are two-part story. So these are Italian issues that he also got me. This is old enough. It still has the price in lira instead of euros. This is issue number 100. And one thing that Benelli does with the anniversary issues, they're actually colored. So here it is, issue number 1, colored inside. This is the Angelus art. Yeah. Roberto De Angelis is usually regarded as the best one, but it's not as prolific as some of the others. It's very good. This is album quality. This is 141 from Italy, The Wet Death. Art by who? Hold on. Be signed here. Okay. Yeah, another Stefano Cassini story with written by Stefano Vietti. So the original writer is no longer writing the stories, because this comic has been going on for 27 years, but I believe it's not selling as well as it used to be. And issue number 200, The Last Ring. Ultimo Anello, also issue number 200, anniversary issue. So also colored, and also looking more very much in the French European style. Now there was a time when we lost Marvel and DC in Portugal, and I wasn't reading in English on a regular basis yet. So I took the time to try out some things, and that's how I started getting a little more into the Italian comic side. These are also Brazilian editions, although they're much more recent. They're late 90s, early 00s. Tex is the most well-known character from Bonelli Comics. It's been going on since, I believe, 1947, I think. Italian Wikipedia? Yeah, 1948. So it was still created by Gianluigi Bonelli, who created who started the excuse me, started the publishing house, still under the name Audace, and his son Sergio took over in the early 1960s, and in '88 the publishers became Sergio Bonelli Editore. Text was created with artist Aurelio Gallepini. Here he is. Oops, let's see if I can show it. Okay, here you go. This is Tex Willard, U.S. Marshal, and this is his sidekick, Kit Carson. Yes, the Kit Carson. Even though the series has been going on for 60 years now, yeah, the characters already have grown-up children, but they still have the same youth and vitality that they had when the series started. There's a lot of there are a lot of stereotypes around here, especially regarding the noble savage myth, as well as a white man being accepted as a member of the tribe. In fact, Tex is dressed like a Native American on the cover. Another issue from Tex. This is the Brazilian edition, 338. This ones don't have. Oh, actually, yeah. Okay, yeah, it's written by Nidzi, who's the best known text writer at the moment. And another text, 339, The Mayan King. The thing is, if you want to read text, you should usually take a break. Read uh, 2 or 3 issues in a row, then you take a break, come back next year, and not much will have changed. Okay, so next we have Dylan Dog. We have 2 issues of Dylan Dog here. We have Nick Raider and the Zygote. Why do I have 2 issues number 4? Okay, so Dylan Dog is probably kind of well known in the USA right now because it's been published by Dark Horse and by some other publishers. This is a horror comic, and it's aside from Texas, probably the best selling from Bonelli in Italy right now. This was published in 1993 in Italy, and yeah, Flavi Montanari and Grassini. If I can show you some good art from here. Yeah, here it is. And if this guy over here looks familiar, it's because he is familiar. The Italians are very good at they like copying a lot of stuff from the US, even if it doesn't make sense. And because that's how we got not only spaghetti western, but also Bud Spencer and Terence Hill. By the way, if you've never seen a Bud Spencer and Terence Hill movie, you have got to look for it. Those are probably the best action comedies of all time, late 70s, early 80s. So, but yeah, so Dylan Dog's sidekick is Groucho Marx. Issue number 4. This is the sticker price because this came from Brazil and they don't have Portuguese prices. They usually put the stickers on the cover and they're a bitch to take out. I might damage the comic. The other one has more realistic style. This one has a more appropriate flavor. Also, because we're published in Brazil by Mythos, they have more of they're smaller than the traditional Benelli format. Let me show you the okay. So these are the Italian editions, and these are the current Brazilian editions, and they're a bit slower, as you can see. But they're still 100 pages. Nick Rader, homicide police detective. There are a few stories with investigators. Nick Rader, probably not the most famous. I think that Julia sells better both in Italy and Brazil. Nick Rader is not even being published anymore in Italy. And here's Zagor, which is another Western character, but this one has some low-level mysticism. There's a sticker, price sticker in there. Zagor has a little bit of magic. The character has super strength, and he also has a Mexican sidekick over here, not called Chico, so not the best. And my favorite. Why do I have issue number 4? I don't know. But okay, so I have to issue number 4. Again, one. So Martin Mystere is I think it was published briefly by Dark Horse as Martin Mystery, and also science fiction, although more with a little bit of a horror, a little bit of horror thrown in, set in the present day time. Martin Mystere is usually called the Detective of the Impossible, written by Castello with art by Ricci on this issue. So here he is, the main hero with his fiance. They're not. I don't think they're ever going to get married. This is eternal fiance Diana and his faithful assistant Java, an actual living Neanderthal man. He can't speak, but is highly intelligent, based on the theory that because Neanderthals had bigger brains, they were probably smarter than us, but they were not as adaptable, and that's why they went extinct. This is issue number 1. From Brazil. Page with lots of action. I like Martin Mystere. It was probably my favorite series when the Italian comics were being more a little bit more popular. That was making an effort to buy them. This is issue number 36 from Brazil. Japanese robots. There are several references to Atlantis and Lemuria during the comic. The idea is that there were antediluvian civilizations, and in this story, this giant Japanese robot is part of it. This issue number 15 was a larger story, 132 pages, still cost the same. And is investigating the Nazca landing strip, which supposedly was where aliens would land, because nobody understands why they would bother making such big figures that can only be seen from when you're flying. A little bit of a horror bit on this one, number 14. You can see this well in the interior art. Not traditional sci-fi on this story. The Kung Fu Killers from number 8. and The Man with the Third Eye from number 5. As usual, one-shot stories, or at least um, two-parters, so you never get lost. You can pick up the comic whenever you want. You can leave whenever you want. You can show up and I'm gonna try out this title this month and not come back for a year. This is number 9, so it's a continuation of number 8. So with the Chinatown theme. Number 10, 11 references to Gulliver's Travels, and this is number 16 with Voodoo Magic. Okay, these are the Brazilian ones that I have. Now, to show off the ones that I have in Italian, I bought some when I go abroad on assignments, and if I have the time to stop at the airport bookstore, they always have comics. So once more, Dylan Dog, The Game of Fate. This is Mr. No. This is an adventurer, former Air Force pilot, very undisciplined, who decided to take up early retirement and move to the Amazon jungle during the 1950s. This title lasted for several years, but unfortunately it's canceled now. Lasted for about 270, I think. So this issue, A Friend in Peril, because it's in the Amazonian jungle. You of course you'll be finding corrupt officials and the like. Okay, so Agenzia Alpha. This is one of the Nathan Never spin-offs, and this one is collects 3 stories, so it's a 320-page book, really thick. The end of the story titles here: the Iceman, The Return of Janus, and the Tiger Lady. Lex Weaver still had a comic back then, so he's on the back cover advertising the other series. Nathan Never does not actually appear on the Alpha Agency stories. There's a cameo appearance somewhere, but this title, which comes up quarterly, focuses on all the other members of the Alpha Agency, gives them the time to shine, and you eventually have some more consequences to deal with, because the titular character does not have to live to see the next issue. Another Italian Martin Mystere. One is Chaos Patterns. I managed to sneak with 6 or 7 panels per page, and which is a smaller format than the American format. Is the main character. Next is Morgan Lost. This is one of a batch of new series that Bonelli has been trying out. Morgan Lost has been so-so. The other one that I wanted to buy, but at the time I didn't have more money. This is called Dragonero. That one is Bonelli's only fantasy title, and it's actually been picking up steam. And the next time I'm in Italy, I'm going to have to find it, because I really want to read the story. So yeah, Morgan Lost has a story in red tones on the inside. This is a time traveler. So here's another Nathan Never. This is issue 297. This is 240. The Age of Telepaths. And The Creature's Secret. This is 144. I got 141 in I already bought 144. Interesting. Let me just check it out again. Yeah, 141 and 144. And Zagor. These are all Bonelli comics, and Bonelli is the biggest publisher, but not the only publisher, especially because there's one Italian comic that has been going on for a few decades that you might have heard of in the United States, as it had a feature film with an American actor, and it's called Diabolik. These ones are smaller than Bonelli comics, as you can see. And I have 3 issues over here. The Island of Lost Man. Okay, good. This one, 2 steps from that. Diabolic is not a hero. Is one of the most famous anti-heroes ever. He is a gentleman thief, modeled after Fantomas, created by 2 sisters. The Giussani. Oh man, I forgot their first names. Italian Wikipedia, help me. Angela and Luciana Giussani. That's it. Although they're no longer involved with the publishing of these comics. Not sure if they're still alive. Let me check. No. Yeah, they're not. No, unfortunately, Angela died in 1987 and Luciana in 2001. But yeah, well, it still keeps going. In Italy, you always find not only the new stories, but also compilations of old stories. Diabolic's famous for his Jaguar car, and Eva Kant is sidekick and lover. And there's Diabolik is so successful that he has generated a host of imitators in the crime comic genre. Actually, I should have showed you some interior art. Let's put interior art. Wrong comic. Okay, these are harder to open because they're much smaller. Okay, and usually only 2 or 3 panels per page. So, okay, so Diabolik had a host of imitators. Let me see if I can show you some. One of them is a criminal. Created by Max Bunker. A little bit slow at night. All right. Here it is. Here it is. If I can show you. Hello, real slow. Yeah. So actually, I think I can see this. Okay, so let's change. So can you see this? This is a criminal, also an anti-hero. There was another one called Satanic. Satanic. You can see that. Yeah, Satanic is this female anti-hero in the comics that had to do with vampires. If you can see the skeleton over here, is because criminal was called Satanic in France. Okay, here it is. This is Satanic, the Italian version. Whoops. And this is the French Satanic. Actually, there was something else in Italy. Let me see. Okay, yeah. Okay, Satanic was not criminal. Satanic is another skeleton character that in Italy was called Killing. So very original when it came time to copy the Diabolic success. Okay. And I think that's it. Okay, and I suppose that's it. Oops. Sorry. So this is it, my collection of Italian comics, and now the screen has gone yellow. That was, and there's Ted. Oh, I'm sorry, Ted. Were you there for a while? I wasn't seeing. I wasn't seeing. I was trying to do a screen share. So yeah, that's my collection of comics. I'm going to be adding to it occasionally when I have the opportunity. Unfortunately, these are practically unknown in the United States or in England, and I don't know why these are very affordable collections, and you can really buy them whenever you want. So you don't need to commit to a series. This is not like Marvel or DC. They're not continuity heavy, with of course the exception of Nathan Ever, who nowadays is continuity heavy. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you very much for stopping by. Comic Crack, Terrence was here, Samuel Trejo was here, Tat was here. Thank you very much for taking a trip through Italian comics with me. I will return. Probably my next video will be finally a Marvel video. I've been rereading the Squadron Supreme, and I'm going to see if I can do a video on it. Hopefully, before that, I'll be able to go online with Mind the Comics, Comic Crack, and Howler Mouse, so we can discuss the second and third volumes of Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. We still don't have a date set for that, but I've been reading the third volume now, so hopefully very soon. So once more, thank you very much for stopping by. Hope you have the chance to try out some of these series, even if they're not available in English. And until next time, keep reading old comics.